Okay, I got 7 problems in the video and then 7, and that's going to be it for this week. Okay, you just need to keep yourself sharp on this stuff. Simplify the expression. So, these are the examples. This is example 1. Okay, we have 5x to the power of 3 to the second times x to the power of 5. So I have this big expression with multiplication along with exponents, okay? So I make 3 lines and underline the expression. So I have a factor of 5 on top. I got a factor of x on top. I got a second factor of x, so I just put a plus sign. Now I go 1 times 2 is 2, 5 to the second. Then on x, first we add to the third, but you need to take 3 times 2, that's 6, and then you're going to add 5. 6 plus 5 is 11. Okay, neither of those two exponents, 2 and 11, are negative, so we just bring it straight over. And then 5 to the second means I take 5 times 5, and that's 25. Okay, 25 times x to the 11th power. Example 2. 4x to the power of negative 4. So we have 4 times x. So both 1 times negative 4, that's negative 4. Okay, we don't just bring those straight over, they have negative exponents, so they need to go down where I can write them as positives. I put a 1 on top. Now I've got the 1. I can simplify the 4 to the second. That'd be 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. That's 256. Yep. Okay, example 3. We've got a parentheses 3x to the third over y, and then a 4th power outside, times another parentheses where there's a fraction inside of 2, and then x to the 5th, and then the second outside. Okay, combine that into one line. You can do that in multiplication. You can't do it with addition, but all these are multiplications. So on top I have a factor of 3, a factor of x, and a factor of 2. Figure out what those exponents are. So 3 is to the 1, but you got to take 1 times 4, and that's 4. X to the third, 3 times 4 is 12, and then 2, 1 times 2 is 2. Okay, so the top setup, what about the bottom? We have a factor of y and a factor of x. So I go 1 times 4 would be 4. You got to take that 1 times 4 because the parentheses is also around that y. 5 times 2 is 10. Now you need to cross things out if you can if they're on bottom. You have a y on bottom, but you don't have one on top, so that stays. But we have an x and an x, so we get rid of the x to the 10th. Subtract 10, and that's 2. Okay, now all the exponents, 4, 2, 2, and 4 are positive, so we all bring them all straight over. Now, notice I said straight over. That means you bring the y straight over on the bottom. Okay, you don't move anything. Then I can figure out this and this. So 3 to the 4th, 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 81, so I'll put 81. I can also figure out 2 to the second, that'd be 2 times 2, and that's 4. And then times x to the second, y to the 4th. Then the last step, we probably need to take 81 times 4. That's 324. Okay, there we have it. Okay, example number 4. Got 8x to the 6th, and then y, negative 3, negative 2. Bottom you got x negative 3, y 2. Okay, make your lines to simplify. Properties of exponents. So we have a factor of 8, a factor of x, a factor of y. So 8 to the first, 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. Then x, 6 times negative 2 is negative 12. Then y, negative 3 times negative 2 is 6. Now on bottom we have a factor of x and a factor of y, and that's a negative 3, and that's a positive 2. Now we can get x on bottom, you can cross that out, and you minus negative 3 from the negative 12. When you cross something out on bottom, you need to subtract it from the top of the exponent. So negative 12 minus negative 3 is negative 9. Okay, then y to the 6th, y to the 2nd. So we cross that out and we subtract 2 from 6. 6 minus 2 is 4. Okay, so we got negative 2, negative 9, and 4 as the powers. Well, we can bring the y to the 4th straight over, but the 8 and the x need to move down here, so I can write their exponents as positives. So that's a 2 and a 9 now, no longer a negative. And the only thing, one out of the 3 factors I can simplify is 8 to the 2nd. So 8 times 8 is 64. So we have y to the 4th, 64, times x to the 9th. Okay, next one, example 5. It says, simplify each expression, write the answer in scientific notation. Here's a reminder how to do this. They don't take long. 7 times 10 to the 5th, and another parentheses where I have 2.3 times 10 to the 4th. This means multiplication when there's nothing between the parentheses. So what you need to do is multiply. Take 7 times 2.3, that would make the most sense, and 10 to the 5th times 10 to the 4th. So 7 times 2.3 is just a regular multiplication. 16.1 is what I got. Now, you write 10 down and you add the powers, multiply the same base with the same exponents. 5 plus 4 is 9, okay? You're adding those two, okay? I'll put right there plus. So we have 16.1 times 10 to the power of 9. Now, that would be fine, but there's 2 digits in front of the decimal. In scientific notation, you can only have one number in front, okay? So you need to move that decimal once to the left, so you have just the 1 digit in front. Now you also then need to put a 1 next to your exponent 9. Now you moved it to the left, so when I move it to the left, that means I'm going to minus, okay? 9 minus 1, that's 8. 1.61 times 10 to the 8th. Okay, example number 6. We have 2.5 times 10 to the 5th, and then 5 times 10 to the negative 3rd. Okay, so now we're dividing instead of multiplying. It's kind of the same idea, though. We take 2.5 divided by 5, and then we take 10 to the 5th divided by 10 to the negative 3rd. So I take 2.5 divided by 5, that'd be 0.5. Then, remember, when we multiplied, we added the exponents. Now when we're dividing, we're going to subtract by crossing the 1 out from the bottom and minusing negative 3 from 5. 5 minus negative 3 is actually 8, because that's the same as 5 plus 3. So 10 to the 8th. So we have 0.5 times 10 to the 8th. Now again, remember the rules for scientific notation, you have to have 1 digit in front of the decimal, and that digit cannot be a 0. Right now it's a 0. Well, if I go like this, then it's just a 5. So 5.0. Now, when I moved it right, I need to oh shoot, I screwed this up. Go back to example 5. If you move it left, you add. I screwed that up. Left is adding, so 9 plus 1 is 10. Okay, 10 to the 10th. When you move it right, I wasn't paying attention there. You minus, okay? So it's 8 minus 1. So it's kind of like this. When you move the decimal backwards, you're making the number smaller here, so you make it bigger here by adding. When you move it forward, you're making it bigger here, so you need to subtract to make it smaller, the exponent smaller. That's the way to remember that. Remember, left is moving it left is adding, moving it right is minusing. Okay, and then example 7. The population of a city is 45,000 people. It decreases by 2% each year. If the trend continues, what will the population be after 15 years? Okay, so you scroll down, it says people equals. Okay, so what you need to do is go down at the bottom of the paper or somewhere, write people equals. Now make a box to define your units and their variables. You have people and years. I've put those in bold for a reason. So the time is always X and the Y then is the people, because the people are dependent on the years. So per people per year. Okay, it decreases by 2% per year. So it's not, you cross out people. Instead, what's happening per year is you're minusing 2%, because decrease. Well, that means it's not a linear function. It's an exponent function, which means I go a times b to the x power equals y. So now I got to define what a, b, and x, what numbers I can put in for those. Remember, a and y mean the same thing. So if y is people, then a means people, and y means people. Okay? B is my percent all the time, and then x over here is my years. Okay? All right, now what about the people? Well, we know where they start at, so that's your A. You don't know where they end at, so you're going to keep your Y in the equation. And then B, your percent. Don't just put 2%. You need to take 100% minus 2%, and that's 98%. So move the decimal twice, and that's 0.98. And X is the years, and the years we have is 15. Okay, you just put things in here. So your A, 45,000, times B, which is 0.98, to the 15th power equals Y. Now, you're not, since you don't have one of my calculators, you need to go on your phone and go to Google Calculator. Just go to a Google search and Google. Okay, so I have 45,000 times 0.98. Now to get it to the 15th power, you click the X to the Y power button right there. 15. That's the answer, 33,235 or 36, it doesn't matter. Okay, that's your answer. Now, I tried to make the assignment to go like the examples, look back at the examples. If you